he has. He's named Corey as the campaign chairman. So Chris and Susie now work for Corey Lewandowski. Tony, the pollster, has to now report to Corey Lewandowski. They all have to go through Corey. He's the campaign chairman. He's taken over the central role of managing Trump's effort. Now, Corey Lewandowski could not manage a used tire lot. This is a guy who has never won a statewide race, much less an actual presidential race. He is notorious for having a volcanic temper. He is notorious for a whole chain of sexual peccadillos in various campaign settings. He was fired from a super PAC because donors complained he was sexually harassing them. This is just, I mean, if you're Donald Trump, you have a big problem with women in the 2024 election. Corey Lewandowski is not your go-to guy.
Let me play for you guys just recently the personal attacks from Trump. I mean, his allies on the Hill are telling him to stay away from the personal attacks. We saw Nikki Haley saying, like, sitting there and trying to talk about Kamala Harris's race is not the winning message that he thinks it is, but he just can't help himself. Take a listen.
Have you heard her laugh? That is the laugh of a crazy person. That is the laugh of a crazy. It's the laugh of a lunatic. I say that I am much better looking than her. I think I'm much better. Much better. I'm a better looking person than Kamala.
Again, just to remind our viewers, that was today. That was after a week of people telling him to stop and try to stop. Enough with the crazy. Try to get back on track. This was not from a couple days ago. That was literally just a few hours ago. Clearly, Donald Trump did not get the message, Hayes.
Yeah, not at all. He's not going to, is the thing. I think that it's wild how they are just wishing into the wind right now. They are hoping that Donald Trump somehow managed to become someone who he absolutely is not at this point. They want him to stay on message. They want him to be disciplined, even if he was launching attacks specifically at Harris, but doing it in a way that looks at things that they think she's vulnerable on immigration, on inflation, and the economy. That would be one thing, but he can't stick to one point at one time. And he thinks his political instincts are the best. That Cheerios thing, I'm going to take them back to my cabin. No, anyone who has ever run a campaign knows, okay, the best thing that we could do is say, oh, all this food we have here is going to be donated to a local food pantry or something for people in need who are hurt by the Biden-Harris economy. Instead, he's saying, yeah, I'll take that home with me. Why not? Free food. It's like, what are you doing? His instincts are terrible, and yet he believes that because he won in 2016, he can do no wrong.
To be fair, he said he would take it back to have some fun with the Cheerios. I'm not quite sure what he meant by having fun with Cheerios. but the other thing is, it also seemed like you could tell that he was reading those prices for the first time, right? Like, this is not a guy who's like, wow, look at that. The price of eggs, I'm being told, is up like 30% because he doesn't know what the price of eggs actually really is. He's always been a faux populist. And there is one guy, Molly, though, who's actually asking Trump to basically stay on course. That's his running mate, J.D. Vance, because he was actually asked by reporters yesterday as to whether or not he should, or others are concerned, Republicans should be concerned by Trump's personal attacks. Vance actually defended Trump. He actually said, quote, I don't think the president needs to pivot. Again, you know, we expect Vance to be an acolyte, to be a yes man, but this is pretty weird that he is still defending this.
Well, he knows that that's the job, right, is to go out there and be a Trump surrogate and defend the indefensible. I mean, that's what everyone in the end, if you're a Trump supporter, I mean, I can't think about him without thinking about Mike Pence, right, who just gave it all for Donald Trump. And, you know, he was rewarded with what, right? I mean, being threatened by Trump supporters. And, Mike Pence created the permission structure that evangelicals needed to put Trump over the top, and his reward was nothing. So as you see, people go, they just keep making this mistake, and it's like it's Shakespearean, Yeah,
and, Rick, another highlight from this week that just shows Trump's incapacity of change, his disrespect for our veterans. Trump hosted an event at Bedminster Thursday. He was praising Miriam Adelson, a major Republican donor, whom he bestowed the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2018 to. Here's what he had to say about how important that medal is compared to the other.
That's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead.
This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who has followed Donald Trump over the last several years. It was actually a moment of truth for him. He was speaking from the heart, and we've seen how he has attacked veterans like John McCain and retired Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman and other Gold Star family members. But this is a pretty new low even for somebody like Donald Trump, Rick.
Look, I recall in 2020 when he attacked the parents of Humayun Khan. I recall when he attacked John McCain. I recall when the stories broke about Trump calling veterans suckers and losers. There is an endless pattern of Donald Trump's utter contempt for our military. There's an endless pattern of Trump's hideous degree of just spleen and hatred for them because he thinks they are desperate to be in the military because of their socioeconomic circumstances. He thinks it's like a welfare program that they should be ashamed of. Donald Trump's relationship to the U.S. military has long been one where he thinks that his bluster makes him a leader. You know, he joked about one time always wanting to get the Purple Heart. Well, it's pretty easy, Donald. You could have gotten the Purple Heart if you hadn't been a draft dodger during the Vietnam War, where 58,000 American men sacrificed their lives. Donald Trump spent his time during the Vietnam War, as he bragged about later, chasing women around New York. This is a guy who is beyond contemptuous. All the cliches that the Republicans used to try to put out there about, the Democrats are anti-military, anti-defense, they've been flipped on their head. It's Vice President Harris and Joe Biden who honor our military. It's Donald Trump who has utter contempt for them.
Yeah, not to mention he has also gone after generals who have served in the military. He went after Mark Milley at the time, the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, basically saying that
Fox News have a huge problem. Their beloved leader has now attacked veterans. It has. And so they can't really cover that subject because it goes against the narrative. So what are they going to do? They're going to attack Kamala Harris left, right and centre. Doesn't matter what they're saying is total garbage. Doesn't matter what Kamala's saying is some policy there. They will attack it. And this is the craziest thing that's going on right now. Sorry for shouting. They're attacking each other. Well, they're not really attacking each other. They're basically, I thought it was freedom of speech. You speak, I speak. We might have a different opinion, but I thought that's what they believed in at Fox. Freedom! Well, apparently the level of freedom they believe in is only speak if you agree with what I'm saying. If you try and give an alternative or opposite point, I'm going to talk all over you. I sometimes wonder why Jessica bothers. Must be the check. It really is, seriously. It's like, you ever been in a wind machine or something like that, or you're going against the wind or trying to swim against the tide? What is the point? Those that work at Fox, by the way, they don't want to hear anything. They'll put it all out. The other day, I challenged a Trumpy Trump, Foxy Fox type of person. I said to them, they were going on about Kamala Harris not doing any TV debates. I said, here's the thing. $100, they're called Greg Price, you can see them on Twitter, $100 to a charity of your choice. I bet you Kamala Harris does a TV interview or a sit-down interview or a press briefing before Melania Trump appears. Nothing. And that's the thing with those at Fox, Judge Jeanine Weinbox, all of them. They can dish it, but their level of insecurity, and they probably cover the mirrors. That's how self-loathing they are.
I heard the other day, and this isn't anything, I'm just saying, they'll say he was rambling. I don't ramble. I'm a really smart guy, really smart. I don't ramble. But the other day, anytime I hit too hard, they say he was rambling. Rambling. I get up and I make a speech. I go for sometimes 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because, people are waiting outside for 3 days, 4 days. You guys were waiting out there for a long time. Front row Joes are waiting out. I don't know how you guys do it. And I feel I have an obligation to speak and speak in a certain way and speak a little bit longer. How would you like it? A guy's waiting with his family for 3.5, 4 days. They have a tent, and the tent is set up. They have hundreds of them, and they wait. And then I walk in, speak for 15 minutes, and leave. I don't know, somehow. Would that be okay, North Carolina? I don't think so, right? They want me to speak all day. You know, when I leave, I did one 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm leaving, and they're screaming, no, sir, more. We want to hear more. I said, I can't speak more. What the hell else am I going to say? Our country's going to hell. That's all I can say. We're a nation in decline. You know, we were talking about that before. My phrases are copied so much, right? I use the term oftentimes in closing, we are a nation in decline. We are a failed nation. And I think it's a beautiful phrase, although I don't like the topic very much. I don't like what it represents, but there's a certain beauty. All of a sudden, all of these candidates, including Republicans, are saying we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. And I say, you know, what the hell do they have to copy me for, right? But they have a lot of words that they copy. Many of our words, we were in the plane before coming in, and our people said, we went through a list. I think we're going to release a list. Let's release it. But so many of our phrases they copy. I should be, really, that should be a nice thing, not an insult. But crazy Bernie Sanders has said a lot of things. Okay. She called it wrong. She's called it wrong now for about 8 years. But she said one thing that got me. She said Kamala has one big advantage. She's a very beautiful woman. She's a beautiful woman. So I decided to go back and reread the clause. I'm not saying he's not, but I say that I am much better looking than her. I think I'm much better. Much better. I'm a better looking person than Kamala. No, I couldn't believe it. She said, you know, I had never heard that one. They said, no, her biggest advantage is that she's a beautiful woman. I'm going, huh. I never thought of that. I'm better looking than she is. In her speech yesterday.
I love you. Have a great day at school.
Dictator on day one.
There will have to be some form of punishment for women.
Roe vs. Wade was terminated.
Fire, fury, bloodbath. Now get in.
You know what, honey? I'm gonna drive you today. Besides, can convicted felons even drive school buses?
If you wouldn't trust him with your kid, why would you trust him with your country?
Excuse me, sir. Trump or Kamala for president?
Who, what?
Trump or Kamala for president?
Kamala.